So the action definition of business is a commercial profitable enterprise that works without you. That without you piece is the key component in order to have a business that can generate passive income. It's not exactly passive if the business requires your involvement on a day-to-day basis. So the goal here is to create a commercial profitable enterprise that works without you, and that's what we're going to be walking through here today. Well, good morning, everyone. We are going to do a quick conversation around this process of the six-step framework to create passive income within business. So buckle up, listen up, and we're going to dive right into the conversation here today. First and foremost, I promise not to waste your time during this, about 30 minutes that we have together here. For this investment of time, for you to take the time and watch this later on, I will guarantee a couple things for you to walk away with. First one is specific strategies that you can use inside of your business starting today, and the exact framework on how to achieve a 62% increase in your profitability in just the next 12 months. So, to get us started along this journey, to really think about, get us thinking in a particular way with regards to our business, I want to ask you this question. And take a minute, pause the video, and answer this question for yourself. Be as honest and transparent as you possibly can. But who really drives your business? Does your business drive you, or do you drive your business? Now, what does this mean? Think about it from a proactive versus reactive standpoint. If your business is driving you, that traditionally looks like you continuing to be very reactive in the business. Things are happening and you're just responding to them versus being in the driver's seat and actually being proactive about the things that you're doing in the business. So it's important to kind of think through, where am I at today, and what's the process, what's the things that I'm seeing. So that is the first question. Take a minute, pause this, and really answer that question. Who really drives your business today? The next thing I want you to kind of think through is what we tend to see are the three most common frustrations of business owners today. And they come in with the number one being probably lack of money, right? The business doesn't generate the revenue and the profits that the business owner desires or believes is possible from the business. Number two is time. The owner works too many hours in the business and therefore misses out on time with family, with friends, developing interest outside of business. Yes, it's important to do that, or might have some time management issues with themselves or within kind of the team that they manage, which leads us then into number three, team challenges, right? So this could be the team doesn't perform at the level that the business owner desires, or the business owner has problems recruiting and hiring the right people, or even retaining and training the people that they do have. So that regardless of kind of the different areas within frustrations with business, it usually comes down to one of these three areas. So once again, to get you started, kind of thinking on, where am I at in my business today? Take a minute, pause. I want you to think which one of these three stands out to you for your business the most, and then I want you to prioritize them. What's number one, what's number two, and what's number three? Which one of these stand out and kind of are the current biggest frustrations for you in your business? So where do we need assistance? Where do we need assistance to grow or improve within our business? And that's really what we're going to talk about here today. If we're going to create this process of creating passive income within a business, then we need to think about, where can we improve the business to be able to achieve that end result. So the action definition of business is a commercial profitable enterprise that works without you. That without you piece is the key component in order to have a business that can generate passive income. It's not exactly passive if the business requires your involvement on a day-to-day basis. So the goal here is to create a commercial profitable enterprise that works without you, and that's what we're going to be walking through here today. So quick introductions, just so you have some context of who I am and who we are at Action Coach. My name is Tanner O'Brien. I'm a senior partner. I'm a co-owner of our firm. I'm an investor. I'm a business coach. I spent a number of years in the mortgage industry, in the banking industry. Was a VP at Bank of America. I've got over 8 years of experience in real estate, business, and economic development. Really, when we look at what are the things that I absolutely love and enjoy, it's the finance, operations, and marketing management side of things. It's really the, how do we drive an understanding of kind of the data, the numbers within business to grow our businesses into this engine, this asset that spins off additional cash flow. Big piece that I always like to kind of throw on this slide and to share with you all today is, within the first 3 years of being a part of this firm, we increased revenue by 562% and our net income by over 860% simply by reviewing and going through the specifics of what I'm going to be teaching you here today. So not only do we teach this stuff, but we use it in our own business and we continue to implement it in a way that's going to help us continue to grow and go through all the same challenges, ups and downs, and everything that y'all may go through as well. So a little bit about Action Coach, right? So who is Action Coach? We are the world's #1 business coaching firm. We get to say that because we have more than 1,200 coaching offices in over 84 countries across the world. We've been around for 31 years, where the systems, the framework, everything that I'm going to be sharing with you today has been tried and tested over and over again in so many different industries around the world, so many different countries, all that kind of stuff, and it continues to be true today. So we are the world's #1 business coaching firm. It's privately owned and founded by a guy named Brad Sugars. He's an entrepreneur, an author, a just absolute builder of businesses and kind of wealth creation, things like that. If you don't know who Brad is, just to give you a little bit of context, we go back to his early days, and he grew up around the same time, going through the same classes, the same kind of upbringing as Tony Robbins and Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. They learned from guys like Keith Cunningham and Jim Rohn and Zig Ziglar and some of these other guys out there. So he kind of came up around that time. Tony went off and did his stuff. Robert went off and did his stuff, and Brad went off and created this entity of buying, selling, and building. Buying, building, and selling companies, and using this framework that became the Action Coach system. So our vision, within Action Coach is world abundance through business re-education. Now, it's important that we hit on this for a second because it's not just business education, it's business re-education. Why? Well, a big piece is, a lot of things that we're going to go through here today is re-education, stuff that you may have heard before, you may have learned before. But the intention is that we're always continuing to kind of relearn some of these things as we continue to grow along our journey within business and entrepreneurship and things like that. Because I don't know about you, but I am not the same person that I was 4 years ago, even 3 years ago, even last year, right? I've gone through different experiences. I have experienced different things in my business. And now some of the things that I read, learned about, applied, 2 years ago resonate a little bit differently, or I have a different way to be able to apply those today. And that is really the process of business re-education. So we coach over 15,000 businesses every single week, across the US, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, Malaysia, Vietnam, Philippines, South Africa, all across the world, right? And what this means to you is that this is a framework that's been tried and tested, and it's something that, I can't sit here and say that I am the smartest, best person in the world, but I can lean on a 30+ year organization and framework that has proven results over and over and over again, all across the world in 84 different countries. So let's bring it back to the definition of a successful business. So I mentioned before, that's a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you, right? The whole purpose of this conversation today is the 6-step framework to passive income in your business. It means we need to create a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you in the business every single day. And that is the process that we're going to walk through here today. So what does that look like? Well, there's 6 basic steps that we need to go through, and they are in a progressive format that we walk through. And it starts with this thing called mastery. Mastery is all about eliminating chaos within a business, right? So there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of things that we don't fully understand and know within the business. So we need to create this elimination of chaos that creates stability. As we create the stability, then we can get into niche, or which is really the marketing and sales engine of the business. This is where we start to generate predictive cash flow, right? So predictive cash flow gives us cash. Cash allows us to start focusing on leverage, or really efficiency within the business. This is our systems. This is kind of starting that progress of kind of maybe hiring a couple team members, things like that. So we have efficiency that gives us time. Time allows us to go deeper into hiring and building our team, which is the structure for growth within our business. Once we have this, we can start to put a general manager or a CEO in place that can actually run the business. And now we have synergy, or you can even call this scale. This is where we now finally have a well oiled machine. This is the point where we do start to see the fact that we have a business that works without us so that we can get to passive income or the sale of the business and ultimately the results, which is your own personal growth and or new businesses or different ventures, things like that. That is the 6 step framework that we're going to be walking through here today. So let's spend most of our time talking on mastery and niche, right? Because this is the biggest foundation, the biggest building block in order to have success within a business. So mastery is all about creating the commercial enterprise, right? It's maybe not profitable yet, maybe doesn't work completely yet, it's certainly not working without you, but we got to build the building blocks of creating that commercial enterprise. So how do we do this? There's 4 specific areas to mastery. Destination. Destination is all about where are we headed, right? So I always like to use the example of, let's say we're going to take a road trip. And I said, let's take a road trip. I've got a Tesla out in the parking lot. It's fantastic. It's got this whole self-drive thing with it, and I can click the 2 little buttons, and it will take off and it'll drive for me. Fantastic. The challenge though is if I went out to that car today and I sat down and I clicked the 2 little buttons, it's not going to go anywhere because I haven't told it where I want to go. Right? It can't map that course if we don't have a clear destination of where we want to go. Uh, we think about destination in our business. It's okay to take, 3, 4, 5 different iterations of what the roadmap looks like, but we have to be very clear on what does the business look like. So you're sitting here watching this today because you read the title and it's 6 steps to passive income in business. All right, well, passive income, right? What does that look like? What specifically does that look like for you? Is it passive income of $1 per month, or is it a passive income of a certain amount per month? Define that. What does that look like? And then we can backtrack into what does the business need to look like to be able to get there. Now we have a clear picture of what we're striving towards, right? This is the destination. Once we have that clear picture, then we can build a roadmap. Roadmap of what specifically do we need to do? How many team members do we need to hire? Like how do we get to this endpoint that we actually want? If we don't have the destination and we're just closing our eyes and aimlessly walking, the ability to get to where we want to go almost impossible to do. So destination has to be #1 cornerstone of mastery. Next, we focus on money or financial mastery. Um, if I could change this, I would change it to numbers mastery in general, but it starts with the financial side of things. Do we understand what's happening financially in the business? How frequently are we looking at the numbers? Are we looking at our financials once a year? Or are we looking at them once a month? Or are we looking at them weekly, right? The intention here is to be able to understand where we are. So if destination is where we're going, money, financial kind of numbers mastery is really about where we are today. What are the historical results and what are the numbers that are going to drive us for the future? So that is the next huge component of mastery, because if we don't measure these things, if we don't understand what's happening from a financial side, it can be very easy to just kind of run off the rails and not have the focus on being able to sustain the business. So money mastery is the next big component here that we need to spend a little bit of time focused on. Then it's time mastery, right? So if I were to pose the question to you, how many of you feel like you don't have any time? I'm running out of time. I'm doing all of these different things, right? Time mastery becomes a huge component, and it often is one of the biggest areas that we spend the most time focused on with new clients that we work with here at Action Coach, because there's only 2 resources that we really have the ability to leverage within business, right? It's our money, our financial resources, and our time. Where do we invest our time for the biggest bang? I was up on stage last week and we were talking a little bit about these 2 resources, and I had the crowd kind of raise their hand. I said, hey, how many of you feel like you are completely out of time? Almost everybody raises their hand in the audience. I said, great. Of those of you that have your hands raised, keep them raised if you feel like your business is not performing at the level that you want it to. You don't have the financial rewards, et cetera, et cetera. And there was a few hands that went down, but most of them kept their hands up. It's like, well, that's fantastic. If we're out of time and we're not achieving the results we want, then more than likely we're investing our time in the wrong areas. And that is everything about time mastery. We need to measure where the time is going today and then determine which of the areas have the biggest return on investment. And that's where time mastery comes in. It's why we spend a lot of time in the mastery level of building our business to ensure that we have the time piece figured out. And the final component of mastery is delivery, right? This is the actual delivery of our product or service. This is the consistency in the quality of what we do. How do we deliver at a consistent level? Because if we do not have our product or service kind of nailed and we're not delivering the results that are promised, then it really doesn't matter how much we market and sell. It doesn't matter how big of a team we build. We're going to crumble underneath the fact that the consistency of our delivery is just not quite up to par. So these are the main four areas that we spend focused on when it comes to mastery. We have to build these first before we can build up the rest of the areas: destination, money, time, and delivery. Once we have these pieces in place, this mastery piece, then we can work on niche, or where we start to generate predictable cash flow. So this is where we go from a commercial enterprise to a commercial profitable enterprise, right? How many of you want more profit? Yeah, quick show of hands, right? So let's talk a little bit about this. What is the definition of a niche? If this is kind of the whole category, niche, what is the definition of a niche? Well, definition of a niche by our definition is no price competition. What does that mean? Well, if you think about it, right, if I'm a real estate agent out there, we'll use that as an example, and I say that I am a real estate agent that caters to, anybody in the state of Texas who needs a home, right? How niche is that? It's not very niche. So what separates me from any other real estate agent out there? So if I charge I don't know, 4% commission and somebody else offers a 3.5% commission, why would they go with me versus this other person, right? There's a price competition there. Now, if I said that I am a real estate agent who specifically works with people in this one neighborhood of the Austin, Texas market, dealing with veterans of the Air Force who also are married and have children, right? We go way more niche down. And the more I can understand that particular market, the better I can speak to them. And now it's less of a price competition and more of a value thing, right? I am more valuable to that specific demographic because I understand their needs better than anybody else would. That is the whole point of creating a niche and not having price competition. So that is the goal of kind of this niche component of our business, is getting very specific on what we do. So how do we create our niche? First is the unique selling proposition, or USP. So this is very similar to what I was just sharing with you as an example, but getting very clear on what makes you unique. And really good customer service or fast feedback or things like that, today that's just expected. That does not make you unique in the marketplace. But being able to speak specifically to a very specific niche and understanding that demographic intimately. What are their challenge? What are the things that you know about them that nobody else knows about them? How do you solve the problems that they have in the way that makes sense to them? That is a unique selling proposition. So we focus on how do we create a niche by defining our unique selling proposition and then creating guarantees. So what's a guarantee? Guarantee is simply yeah, when you think of guarantee, usually it's a money back guarantee. Can't always do that, right? Yeah, I come from the banking industry. A money back guarantees, guarantee of results or success was kind of a no-no. Couldn't do that. And there's other industries that are very similar to that. But the question is, what can you guarantee? So my favorite example or favorite story when it comes to guarantees is this is a little bit of an older example now, but I think it'll resonate with many of you. Is the old plumbing company, right? So plumbing company, they thought, how do I create a guarantee? What can I guarantee in our business? And the first question that they asked was a brilliant one. The question was, what are all the things that my customers hate, absolutely despise about our industry, about buying from our industry? And at the time, the answers that kind of came up on the page were, the plumber's usually late. They usually make a mess, right? They leave the space that they're working on much worse off, like cleanliness wise, than it was before. And you know what? A lot of these guys, they show up, they're a little overweight and they're not usually wearing a belt, right? The whole plumber's crack thing. So they took this and they said, all right, these are the things that people hate about having to hire a plumber. How do we make a guarantee that negates all of those? So this is probably the key when it comes to guarantees, is what are the objections that many of your customers have about your industry, about your business specifically, and how do you guarantee that those will not be objections? So this plumbing company then goes and their advertisement becomes always on time or 5 minutes ahead of time. We're going to make sure that the space is cleaner than it was when we got there, and we will guarantee that every technician that comes out will be wearing a belt. Now all of a sudden that those little guarantees that are very easy to implement within the business remove all of those buying objections and allow them to set themselves ahead of any of their competition, right? So that is the whole premise or the purpose of a guarantee. These next two words I want you to write down, make sure that you have these somewhere because it's really important when it comes to the marketing and sales side of things. That's test and measure. And really the purpose of understanding these two is we go back to the mastery side of things. I talked about money, I talked about time, I talked about the delivery that you provide. That is the measurement. What are we measuring within the business consistently? And then when we do different things in marketing, we're testing. We're creating tests to see what results do we get from each of these new channels, these new ads, these new scripts that we're using. How does that change the numbers downstream? And this is the iterative process of continuing to get really good at the marketing and sales. So test and measure becomes a very, very important component of this foundation that creates the business that creates passive income. So I'm going to share with you the most important thing of the conversation today, and that is the 5 ways to be able to actually grow your business and increase your profits. So let me explain. Most business owners know how many customers they have, what their revenue is, and how much profitability they make. But these are all really just the results. So this is where it gets exciting. We're going to throw in some numbers here to help you kind of visualize how this can work for you and your business. So if we look at this screen here, right, we have customers, revenue, and profit. They're all in red. That's because they all come after an equal sign. They are the outcomes, the products of the other pieces in here. The 5 areas that we have the most control over are number of leads, conversion rate, number of transactions, average dollar sale, and profit margins, right? Leads being how many people could buy from me. Conversion rate, how many of those that could buy from me actually became customers. Number of transactions in the time period we're looking at. How many times do our customers tend to buy from us? Average dollar sale, how much do they spend on average? And then profit margins, looking at all of our expenses and things like that. So let's put some numbers in to kind of really help understand how this works. I like to use the local hardware store as kind of the basic example. So number of leads over the course of a year. We're just going to use a year for this one here. So number of leads, they had 4,000 people that could buy from this little hardware store. Now, that could be 4,000 people that called in, that walked into the shop, that responded to a flyer, a couple different lead strategies that they may be using, but they had 4,000 people that kind of could have bought from them. Now, they had a 25% conversion rate, meaning that 1 out of every 4 actually bought something, which gave them 1,000 customers over the course of the year. Cool, easy, simple numbers. So of those 1,000, they tend to come in twice. Now, again, this is an average, right? So there's some that came in 5, 6, 7 times. They love coming to the hardware store. They spend so much more time in there. And there's others that come in, once and never come back again, right? So the average is 2, and I think that's out of 1,000 customers, maybe it's once in the fall, once in the spring, but on average they come back twice in a year. Each time that customers come in, they spend on average $100. Now, again, some may spend $1,000 or $500, and there's others that'll spend $5, and everywhere in between. So the average ends up being 100. I always like to use the example that my wife and son went into Home Depot, I think it was, a few weeks ago. They were looking for a few different things, couldn't find what they were looking for, and they ended up walking out with, I think, a $3 paintbrush. So if you average dollar sale, way, way, way low for that one. But we also know that people walk into stores like that and they spend, a couple $1,000s on a lawn tractor. So what's the average? Average dollar sale for this little hardware store was $100. So now let's run the math. 4,000 times 25% gets us 1,000 customers. 1,000 customers buying twice per year at $100 per transaction gives us $200,000 in top line revenue. All right, nice little business here. Now, of that 200,000, 25% went down to their profit, right? So they had 75% of that in expenses, which leaves them with 50,000 in profit or take home cash. Okay, everybody with me so far? Beautiful. So if we go and take a look at how does this matter to our business and what do we do next, right? So the goal here is how do we start manipulating each of these and focusing on what are strategies that are going to help us increase the profitability? Well, we're going to do a 10% increase. That's it. Nothing crazy. We're not going to double numbers. We're not going to even go up 50%, anything else like that. We're just going to do a 10% increase on each of these kind of five areas: leads, conversion rate, number of transactions, average dollar sale, and profit margins, and see how that impacts the overall process. So we're going to work with this little company, this little hardware store, and we're going to spend a couple months working on number of leads. Remember, this is over the course of a year, so we're going to spend a couple months just working on how do we increase the number of leads. We still have all the stuff that we were doing that's going to produce about 4,000 leads, so we're going to increase it by 10%. Maybe we add a new lead strategy. Maybe we refine a little bit of one of the strategies we were doing. Maybe it was our signage wasn't good enough, so we're just going to increase our signage and get a little bit more walk-in traffic. Maybe it's we're going to change our flyers up a little bit with some different headlines. A couple different things that they could be doing, but they're going to increase by 10%, gets them from 4,000 to 4,400 instead. Now, conversion rate, we're going to do the same thing. Now, that could be scripting, it could be sales training, it could be a number of different things that we're going to work on a couple months with their team, simply by finding the one team member that does way better than everybody else and copying what they do and training it to the rest of the team is probably the easiest one to do. But we're going to focus on increasing conversion rate, go from 25% to 27.5%, right? Micro changes here. But what that does is now we go from 4,400 leads, 27.5% conversion rate, and we went from 1,000 customers hauled last year to 1,210 customers this year. Okay, nice little increase there. Well, we don't stop there. We're going to focus on the next couple areas: number of transactions. We're going to actually invite people to come in more, right? Maybe we'll send a couple emails out to the database of customers who have bought in the past and said, hey, we miss you. Come back and buy from us again. And on average, like 1 out of 10 is going to come back and buy again. So we go from 2 to 2.2. Nothing crazy. Average dollar sale. We're in a retail environment. I love this one. I don't know if there's those of you that are watching this that have kids. I have kids, and we go into a grocery store, we go into a retail store, something like this. And one of the best things that businesses have started to do is they put stuff next to the register, and usually it's like candy bars and things like that the kids are like, I want dad, add that into the cart, right? So little things like that to increase the average dollar sale. We go from 100 to 110 on average. Again, we run our math. 1210 times 2.2 times 110 gets us 292,820. Wow. Already, just from a revenue standpoint, we've already almost increased $100,000 in revenue in just 1 year by making some really, really small changes. Now we do the same thing with profit margins. Maybe we work with some of our vendors, we go through a couple different things like that, increase a couple prices, decrease some expenses we didn't need, and we just go from 25% to 27.5%. That's it. Nothing crazy. But you run the math, and all of a sudden we have $80,525.50 worth of profit. 30 grand more in cash back to you as the business owner by working on very simple things. It's a 46% increase in your revenue and a massive 61% increase in your profits. I told you I would give you the framework on how to create 61% increase in your profits over the next year. And it's simply by improving each of these areas by a minimal 10%. Micro changes to have a massive impact on your profitability. To show the power of this, just for fun, if we were to do a 100% increase, meaning that we're doubling each of the numbers, right? Number of leads doubles, conversion rate doubles, right? And it might take more than a year. Maybe we spend 3 years working on this. But that same little business, focusing on a doubling of each of these, goes from 50,000 in profit to $1.6 million in profitability. Wow. Pretty crazy. And this is the process of how we start to scale the marketing and sales within a business. So we talked mastery, we've talked niche. Once we really have a solid foundation built with each of these areas, then we start to focus on leverage. And leverage is all about creating commercial profitable enterprise that works. So now leverage is all about your systems, right? So what are systems? Systems are the things that save yourself time, energy, and money. This is the efficiency coming about. So we look at the 9 steps to systemization in a business. And for those of you that are watching this, the Instant Systems book by Brad Sugars is a phenomenal book to go and understand how this all works in process. But today I'm going to give you the 9 steps to systemizing a business. Now, key point here is take a step back. Build your foundation first. build it from mastery, build it from niche, then we can move into creating the systems and the team growth here. This is a process to creating a business that is sustainable for the long term. So 9 steps of systemization in a business starts with the vision statement. Where are we headed? Without that clear destination, right? So we go back to kind of some of those foundational components within mastery. So we need to understand where are we headed. Then we look at how are we going to get there? What's the roadmap? This is the mission statement. And then what is that, if we're using the road trip analogy, vision statement, vision is the destination. That's where we're headed. That's where everybody in the car is collectively going. Cool. We're all in the same journey together. Mission statements, how are we going to get there? Which stops are we going to take along the way? What sites are we going to see? All that kind of stuff. Let's actually map the route. Culture statement then is really about what's the vibe in the car. What snacks do we bring along with us? What music are we listening to? What conversations or games are we going to play along the way? Like what's the vibe, right? That is really what vision, mission, and culture kind of come down to. Once we have a clear understanding of these, that allows us to start creating the remainder of what's necessary for the systemization of a business. The next one is SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound, right? Getting very, very uh, intentional about our goal setting rather than just saying, oh, I want to accomplish this thing over here. It's got to be very, very specific. Here's how I'm going to measure it. This is achievable based on past results. It's results oriented, and it's within this specific time frame. We're going to achieve this within the next 90 days, 180 days, whatever it is. Once we're very clear on our process for setting goals, then we can start to build into an organizational chart. So regardless of how big you are as a business, being able to sit down and understand, where does the organizational chart actually go long term? What does this need to look like if I'm going to create an entity that's not going to have me at the center, my name in every single one of these boxes, right? We have to build that out. Because once we have that, then we can start to build out the positional contracts, right? So early on, you may say, I'm the CEO, I'm the marketing manager, I'm the sales manager, I'm the finance guy, and on we go, right? And then eventually you start to hire people for each of those roles. But if you start by creating the organizational chart and then taking each position and creating a positional contract for it, what is the agreement? What are the things that they need to be doing? What are the KPIs for each of these roles? How are you going to measure results, right? Because eventually it won't be you doing it, but you'll move up from someone doing it in the business to managing, and that means we need to understand what are the key performance indicators. How-to systems, you're going to bring people on. How do you train them? How do you manage them on the long term? And then what are the management systems? How do you as the manager, the owner, know that the things are happening that are supposed to be happening in each of those areas? So we walk through this process. It's iterative. It takes a little bit of time to walk through this thing. We don't go straight to management systems. We have to start with, steps 1, 2, 3, 4, and we walk through this process. Once we've created this efficiency, we start to have systems and leverage in place. Then we really start to spend some time focused on team. Team is now where we have a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. The whole purpose of the conversation here today. So, as your coach, we walk through this and we'll help you build your team. So this is probably the most important thing for you to take away from today on understanding how to build a team. As we grow a business, the focus as the owner is to build and take care of your team, because the team, when well built and taken care of, will take care of your customers, your clients, and the customers then will take care of the business. The business, under these circumstances, will take care of the owner. So, going all the way back to the challenge of time, right? All the way back to the challenge of time. And I talked to many owners. I'm like, hey, how many of you are taking care of the team? Raise their hand. How many of you are taking care of clients or customers? They raise their hand. How many of you are taking care of the business? Everyone raise their hands. I'm like, wow, that's fantastic. It's no wonder you have no time, right? We have to start transitioning from the one that does everything in the business to how do I focus heavily on building a team that's going to take care of my customers and ultimately run my business. And that's where we get to the point where we can put a general manager in place, have some synergy and duplication, and create growth and then your freedom. So as we come kind of to the conclusion of this, I want to share one additional component with you here today, and that's the entrepreneurial ladder. So if the 6 steps is about building your business, the only way we can grow effectively is if we also grow ourselves. So the entrepreneurial ladder is about you. And if you think of kind of the journey of this entrepreneurship that you're on today, most of the time it starts with being an employee, right? You work for somebody else in some capacity. and you're learning, right? You're learning a lot of different things. You're getting paid to learn things and kind of become an apprentice business owner in a lot of ways. And then one day you decide that I'm going to shift away from working for somebody else and I'm going to go work for myself. I'm going to become self-employed. And I always like to, joke on this one because it's like I stopped working 40 hours for somebody else that I hated, and now all of a sudden I'm working 80 hours for myself, and I realize I hate my boss even more, right? Because we haven't learned the process of what it looks like to actually build and grow a business yet. But self-employed is often kind of denoted by the teeter-totter of business, which is like find the work, do the work, find the work, do the work. And then eventually you grow and you start hiring and employing a few people and we become a manager within our business, right? Now, we're not just finding the work and doing the work, but we're shifting it from, kind of the merry-go-round now. We go from teeter-totter merry-go-round and all of a sudden you're going round and round fixing all the fires and the problems that the team starts because we're still learning this process of how to become a good manager. Eventually, we kind of get off the merry-go-round. We start to figure out how to become a really good manager. We put the systemization in place. We have management systems in place. And we've grown from the person doing everything in the business to now I have a team doing the business. And then eventually I can put a general manager or a CEO in place and I become a true owner of the business. Now I'm at that point where the business is at kind of scale or duplication, and I am an owner of an asset versus someone who is self-employed or has a job that I own. Okay. From owner, then we move to investor. An investor I like to look at is making money with money. And above investor is then entrepreneur, which I like to kind of look at it from making money with other people's money and time. Because you've kind of gone beyond just the I now have an asset that spins off cash flow, but I have the skills and the knowledge to be able to go put deals together. So the bottom level of this is really creating income. The top level of this is creating investments. All right. So as we bring this home, there's a couple quotes I want to just kind of share with you to round this out. And the first one is this one by Richard Branson. If you can learn to run one business successfully, then there's no reason you can't run any number of businesses at the same time. The principles are the same. So when you figure out how to run these 6 steps of creating a business, when you understand the 5-way formula that's going to generate more profits in your business, being able to take that and implement it in different businesses along the way is going to springboard your ability to go higher up faster on the entrepreneurial ladder and create the passive income and wealth that you may be after. Quoting Jim Rohn, never wish that your life were easier, wish that you were better. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. This is a big one. Just like I shared with you with the 6 steps and then the entrepreneurial ladder, we have to be willing to work on ourselves. If we are stuck at the bottom level of self-employed or manager and we never try to graduate up to owner within our own selves, right? It's going to be very difficult to build a business that works without you. So work harder on yourself than you do at your job. And finally, where you'll be in 5 years will depend on the books you read, people you associate with, and the actions that you take. Never stop learning. Never stop coming to workshops and seminars like this. Never stop associating with people who are a little bit further than you, and never stop taking action. It's one of the biggest gaps in the learning realm today is taking action. You can learn all the skills, all the things in the world, but if you never take action on it, you're not going to see the results that you want. So this is the point where it is time to get into action, to take the things that you've learned here today, actually share them, use them, implement them in your business. So you may be sitting here going, Tanner, what comes next? How do I make the most out of what I've learned today? Well, I'd like to introduce Action Club. This is your 12-week masterclass to strengthen your business fundamentals. These are 12 weekly sessions, 1 hour every Thursday, that gives you lessons and accountability. So this is not just an online, self-paced course. This is something that actually gives you the ability to have accountability and homework between each session to actually implement a lot of the things we just talked about in the webinar today into your own business. It's designed for your life. It's designed for many of you that are watching this today. It was created with founders and entrepreneurs in mind. It's a customized journey to make sure that your foundation is properly created. You have 12 weeks to complete all of the items in the program. Each week you receive education and facilitation by one of the certified coaches. And along your journey, you're going to have a certified business coach to guide you along this journey. So you are not doing it alone, which is one of the biggest pieces for success and that action side of things, right? You got to take action by having somebody who's going to hold you accountable. So this is an incredible value, incredible program that we encourage you to at least take a look at here today. There's over $35,000 worth of value for only $100 a week. And as a bonus, There's $2,600 worth of online education that we're going to throw in for free. 90 videos, 3 sets of 30 videos on life, business, and wealth to take you even further along your journey. We're going to throw that in for free, and you will have access to that even beyond just the 12 weeks that you're in this program. So experience decades of growth through lifelong learning, transformative experiences, including access to the 30x programs, the 30 videos that I shared with you. This is the only way to receive over 9 months of total immersion and dedicated group coaching to help you decide what you want from your life and determine the path for your business and how to achieve it. So as a reminder, these are 1 hour facilitated sessions. There's actionable steps to achieve results after every single session so that you can actually put these things into play. It's education and it's facilitation by a certified coach. It's video content to complement all of the learnings that you're going to go through. So highly encourage you, if you found this valuable today, to jump into this program. Get started today for only 1,200 bucks. That's it. One-time investment. There's no recurring thing here. Join for 1,200 bucks and change your life. If you can increase your profitability by 61% or more in the next year, $1,200 will be a bargain. Scan the code and ensure that you join the program here in the next week. We'll see you soon.